Let's do a thought experiment. How would you like us to treat the pedophiles from the Epstein files? Should we put them in prison? Should we cancel them? Should we remove them from their positions of power? Should we take their money away? Should we have them reimburse the survivors? Now let's move a little closer to home. Let's just imagine for a minute the unthinkable that your sister has accused your dad of molesting her when she was maybe 3. And maybe now she's actually 23. Now, what do you want done to your dad? He's actually not molesting your sister anymore. Um, she's a grown woman. So, but he did. He did actually molest her when she was a girl. What would you like us to do with your dad? The reason I'm asking this question is because I keep hearing a paradigm that I don't think really serves our incestuous families. When I say our incestuous families, I'm just talking about the what should be well-known fact at this point, but apparently isn't, that 1 in 4 girls, 1 in 6 boys are molested or raped before they turn 18. And 68% or 70% of those, it happened at home from a parent, a grandparent, an uncle, aunt, or possibly a friend of the family. But it's something that's happening with people that we love and trust. And while I love the idea of righteous rage and justice and kind of an eye for an eye sort of mentality, it appeals to me like it does anybody else. I know for a fact that's just not the way forward to heal families, particularly families where incest has been handed down from generation to generation. Family I grew up in, my grandparents were molested, my parents were molested, I was molested. And I'm using a word molest right now because it softens the truth. We're just talking about child sexual assault here. And it takes a lot of different forms. And sometimes that's what the law would consider rape, and sometimes it's not. But it's all horrific. And it all has really, really destructive impact on the survivors. So well, I'm kind of celebrating the fact that finally a third person, the former Prince Andrew, got arrested, not on child sex trafficking charges, unfortunately, but he's been arrested. And there's some sense of relief in that. When people talk about how my parents should have been arrested or put in prison, it's a really different feeling for me. And I'm not alone in that. The Well, at least a fourth of families have got some secrets. Okay. We're not facing what's happening here to our children. And those secrets persist because we don't actually want to see our family members in prison. And I really just want to say that while punishing people it really brings a lot of satisfaction, it doesn't solve anything. You may remove one pedophile, but you don't change the pattern. So, particularly in a family where there has been sexual abuse, and that gets passed down from generation to generation, and I'm not saying everybody who's molested turns around and molests. I didn't. I'm just saying that it's all too common, and we need to find a different solution. So, I just want to talk about why punishment doesn't actually change anything. And to do that, I'm going to share something with you. And this is a graphic that explains how our brains are set up. As humans, we have a core self, but out from that, we've got exiles. Those are the parts of ourselves that have been hurt. So let's just imagine for a minute that we go back to the fantasy that a parent, maybe your parent, certainly my parent, not a fantasy, was molested as a child. Up there on the right, or at the top, you've got the exiles. The exiles are the ones that are holding all those painful memories. And they're deep sixth. They are buried where a lot of people don't even know they were molested. They don't know they were abused. It's just operating on a subconscious level. And then if you go over to the bottom, you see there's firefighters. Those firefighters are sub-personalities that are heavily invested in protecting the exile. So they have a variety of approaches, and it varies from person to person. We all have different coping mechanisms, but those are born out of that original trauma. So let's just take my father, for instance. My dad hated the fact that his older brother had molested his brothers and sisters and raped his 11-year-old stepdaughter. He wanted his brother to go to prison. That really set him up to be scapegoated by the entire family, by the way, because the whole family was like, no, no, we're not going to put Uncle so and so in prison. Let's just keep this a family secret. Yeah. So even though the part of my dad who hated pedophilia wanted his older brother to go into prison, was not in touch with the part of him that had actually been sexually abused. So we might say that the person that wanted the pedophile to go into prison is a manager. They're using their prefrontal cortex to some extent. They're thinking logically, that's wrong. That person should go to jail. Okay. But what my father didn't understand, and most people don't understand, is that that exile is still wounded and is still heavily guarded by a firefighter. And so, for some people, not all, but for some wounded people, hurt people, they carry it forward. It happens on a level that isn't really engaged with the other parts of the brain, the other parts of the person. This is why sometimes people get caught doing really, really bad things, and they almost feel a sense of relief because their manager parts wanted this horrible shit show to end, but didn't know how to get the other parts to stop doing what they were doing. We have to find some way to interact with what is as opposed to what we imagine is the case. I am not somebody who ascribes to the non-dual philosophy that there is no evil. I actually think pedophilia is one of the biggest evils that is affecting the human family. I really do. And I'm committed to surfacing this topic as best I possibly can. What I want to point out is that the reactive we are going to punish people. Let's just punish them. Um, it doesn't work. We've been doing that for decades, hundreds of years, actually, millennia. Let's face it, no matter how far back you go, we have had really harsh punishments. It hasn't solved anything. We've got to get smarter than this. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen here. Hopefully that gave you a little chance to see that we're really complex creatures. When you punish someone, it arouses a firefighter that wants to defend and hide. So by and large, people who are punished just go underground and do things behind everybody's back because the core reason they were doing that was never solved. And that's why I'm very much in favor of finding a different solution for our families. I don't care what happens to former Prince Andrew. And these other people that are losing their jobs because of the Epstein files, fine by me. Enabling a sex trafficking pedophile like Jeffrey Epstein, they deserve to pay some kind of a price. And I read something the other day. Stephen Dinan was suggesting that Deepak Chopra take one of his $80 million, just $1 million, and give it to the survivors that he helped enable Jeffrey Epstein to abuse. I think that sounds really fair. I like the idea. I really am into accountability. I think anybody that has harmed another human being should be accountable for that. That is something that I adopted for my own personal life when I got clean and sober 40 years ago. I had to go through the amends process, and I have to do that all the time. We call it a 10th step in 12-step recovery. I think it would be a great model for the rest of society. And I know that punishment all by itself just pushes that stuff underground. So I am starting a conversation about this. I don't have all the solutions here. I don't even know if I have any of the solutions. I'm kind of more pointing at the problem and hoping that we can start having an intelligent discussion about what we can do about the 68 to 70% of children who are being sexually assaulted, which is happening in the home, whether we like that statistic or not. That's what the big problem is. We've got to find a different way to heal our families. And I hope you will subscribe, like, stick your comments at the bottom, and let's talk about this. Okay, thanks.